Well, it's 2 days before the 20th annual Nelson Mandela Annual Memorial Lecture, and this time is going to take place in eThekwini on Saturday. Barbados Prime Minister Mia Motley will be the keynote speaker at the event. The theme this year is social bonding and decolonization in the context of the climate crisis, perspectives from the global south. That's a mouthful of a topic, but to explain it to us and unpack it, what we can expect is Sello Hatang, the CEO of the Nelson Mandela Foundation. He's joining us now virtually. Mr. Hatang, good afternoon. Welcome to Today on eNCA. Thank you very much for your time. That's a mouthful of a theme. But before we discuss it, am I wrong that this is the first time since you at the foundation began these Nelson Mandela annual lectures that is taking place in Durban, in eThekwini?
That's correct. Good afternoon, Tate Moyane. Thank you very much for this opportunity. It is true that's the first time that it's going to Durban, or KZN, I should say. But also, it's the first time that we're doing it live in person since COVID, since 2020. So the last time...
What is the significance? What is the significance of taking it to KwaZulu-Natal?
Yeah, so the lecture being about climate change, we decided that we should take it to a place that has suffered as a result of climate change. And part of that problem has been because of the floods that recently hit KZN. And we thought it important, Tate Moyane, that we go there to pledge our allegiance and support, to say to the people of KZN, we are in solidarity with you. But to say to the rest of the world, climate change is here. It used to be something that we thought was coming in the future. It's here with me now as a reality.
Let's look at the theme for the lecture, social bonding and decolonization in the context of the climate crisis, perspectives from the global south. Without giving away too much, and Tate Hatang, are you able to share with our viewers what kind of highlights, what kind of focus she will deliver?
You know, one of the beauties of this year's lecturer, Mia Motley, is that here's someone who is a top draw when it comes to climate change issues, because recently she was appointed the global ambassador of the UN Foundation in terms of climate issues. And I think if we are to think of this subject matter, the theme that she'll be addressing, recently you'd remember that she decided that Barbados has had enough of being under the crown of the UK, that they would then separate themselves because of they don't want that colonial history to continue. So how much better than to get someone who took that step in the case of Barbados. The second part of that is she's excited about beginning to say to all of us that the global south has always been a point of discussion as a victim. In this case, she's saying we must be part of the discussions. We must constitute part of that table, not to always be seen as victims by the global north. But thirdly, that it's upon us, each one of us as nation states, to do something about our own futures, that we cannot just depend on the World Bank, the global north, who caused some of these problems that are happening. I don't know, Tate Moyane, if you saw what's happening in Kenya. They're suffering one of the worst droughts they've ever suffered in their history. They recently lost 100 elephants who died because of the drought. So all these things are saying we must do something different unless we want to perish together.
So that's the message that will come through. And of course, as you said, KwaZulu-Natal suffered recently in April with those devastating storms and floods. And largely, I mean, we are in a climate crisis. But I find it interesting that the lecture will be followed by a community dialogue. Why did you find it necessary that she must also do that in KZN?
So there's two parts to what she will be doing, in fact, in KZN. She's going to be visiting some of the communities which have suffered as a result of the floods, recent floods in April. So she will do a drive-by in some of those communities But she will then be in the company of some activists who she will then be discussing some of the key issues that are happening, not just in KZN, but how do we develop a better preparedness? This will also include the government of KZN so that they also can say, respond to some of the challenges that would be brought up by these activists. And these things would be issues that would try and deal with in terms of ensuring that each one of us can do something, whether you are in a community that's small, in KZN, or you are here in Gauteng. Each one of us can contribute to the solution. We plant trees. You'd remember you and I have had this discussion about how the Nelson Mandela Foundation has pledged that each one of us must plant at least 1 million trees that South Africa should contribute to the world. And that's what we're hoping, that she will then be coming up with ideas of what we can do to change the trajectory of what's coming.
Yeah, finally, and very briefly, if you may, Ntate Hatang, I mean, many people might forget that the Nelson Mandela Foundation is a non-profit organization. And when you host some of these events, of course, people can access them, but there's a small price to pay. And this being the first face-to-face or physical lecture since the coronavirus pandemic outbreak, how are the tickets going for this one, which will be at the Durban International Convention Center?
You know what, you are too good. You should be the CEO of this institution, because you always think of the plight of the institution. I think to the viewers of eNCA, we urge you to please make a contribution towards our work, and you can do so by going to nelsonmandela.org. So we ended up just giving tickets for free in order to ensure that many people could access it. However, it doesn't mean that the resources that Moyan is talking about, we do not need. We still need you to go to nelsonmandela.org to contribute, make a contribution, because these lectures come at a big price, but also the work that we do in communities also come at a big price. Okay, so join us here on eNCA. In fact, also, it will be broadcast live on eNCA, but you can also join us on nelsonmandela.org tomorrow, on Saturday, and also by being there physically at the Durban ICC.